Hey guys, today I'm here with my good fat Patrick Precourt. This guy has got amazing story. Like me, got started in real estate investing, but since then has evolved into helping people transform their lives through personal development, but not just personal development, reading books, watching podcasts and things like that. We're talking about growing mentally and physically through results, right? So Pat, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, and I've been looking forward to this, Rick. We've been kind of chatting about this for a while.
Yeah.
I was looking back through some of our previous messages, so honestly, been looking forward to this, and pumped to have some good conversations with you today.
I appreciate you taking the time. And I know that there are a lot of people that follow us in this podcast are either just getting started real estate investors or maybe a little bit into their journey. But some things that we don't talk about enough in this world is what goes on up here. From the first time you get the idea of whatever sparks you to go flip the house, buy the rental property, do the wholesale deal, whatever that is, to turning it into an actual lifestyle by design business. I don't think people really talk enough about the mental aspect and what it takes to the school of hard knocks.
Yeah, so we've heard it all of our lives, and you couldn't be more true, right? Let me just take kind of a very like obvious kind of example. It doesn't really fit perfect, but you get the idea, right? Let's say your current bench press was like 275, and somebody says, "Hey, you got to bench 325 today." And they put that on you and you go to do it, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Why? Because you haven't deserved the right to play at that level, and you haven't personally developed enough to lift that kind of weight.
Right.
And this is exactly how life works. We've heard all of our lives, we heard like be do have, right? Like, what the hell does that mean? Well, it goes like this: in order to have something we don't currently have, we've got to do stuff that we're not currently doing, but we first have to become that person that we're not yet. So we become to do to have, and it has to happen in that order. That's why, you've heard them say you can't outperform your personal development. You
Right.
got to keep this going forward. Does that all kind of make sense?
100%, man. 100%. I really take light to what you're saying because you got started before ever coaching and teaching other people how to do these things. You started as a real estate investor, correct?
Yeah, back in the late 90s, got into real estate investing, started in like lease option space and quickly got into the short sale space, not by intention, but by
Yeah.
default. And then kind of recognized like we got something a little niche here that's kind of special. And spent the next 10 years really developing the short sale transactions. So it's from call it like 2000, 2002 up to about 2012.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. I
yeah,
remember those days.
exclusively
Back when
worked
you
there.
could find deals in the MLS, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you that how did it evolve? Because I know the amount of lives you've impacted teaching the real estate, right? Coaching real estate investors. How did all that transpire from you actually doing the business to helping other people achieve what you were doing?
Yeah, so this was not like a light switch. It didn't happen overnight. There was a number of different contributing factors. One of them was, as you know, my history was we were involved in a real estate education company, and my responsibility in that education company was to oversee fulfillment, the coaching aspect of it.
Yeah.
And we found out that when we looked at the totality of our numbers, not as many people were successful as we'd like to have been.
Right.
And then you start breaking it down to where they're getting the exact same information, knowledge, teaching, support, training, resources. They're getting the exact
Yep.
same stuff, but all these people over here aren't succeeding with it. Why? And I started kind of a deep dive into understanding the answer to that question. And that's just kind of where it started. So
Okay.
in 2012, we launched a gym. I'll give you a little backstory on that in a minute, but the
Yeah.
gym called The Cage, which is a lifestyle fitness center with the heart and culture of our martial arts. And that became like almost a human laboratory, Rick, for, again, figuring out why some people do and some people don't when they're giving all the exact same resources. And I think people will
Yes.
be a little surprised when I share some of the bits out of that, right? But this, you look at the health and fitness weight loss industry, there's probably no industry out there that has a higher failure rate than that particular industry, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that way. So I spent a lot of time and then testing and then adding in different constructs and basically how do I alter behavior to produce a different result? How do I get somebody to become someone slightly different to do something more so they can finally have the outcome they want? Now, the precursor to the gym, though, like I never woke up one day and said, hey, this is a great day to open a gym. I didn't know squat about gyms. Okay. Or I'm not a personal trainer. I'm not a nutritionalist. I'm an athlete, but that's about my max exposure. Right.
Right.
So preceding that, immediately preceding that was an event where my martial arts coach, the gym we were fighting and, were training at and fighting for, shut down overnight.
Oh, wow.
All legal stuff went down. This kind of
Okay.
and my coach was a Brazilian and I didn't speak very good English. He was like, Pat, like, what do I do? I got this team of 40 or 50 of us. Like, what do I do? And my first thought was, let's just go rent someplace. And we rented someplace for a couple months. I told him I'd help him out with all this, and it sucked. And I said, why are we playing around here? Like, why don't we just open our own gym?
Nice.
And this is just kind of like one of those, you think about it and then you lean into the excitement of it and you never contemplate any of the other crap that goes along with it, right?
Right. Yep. Yep.
So long story short, after thinking about it a little longer, so I'm thinking 3,000 square foot dojo. And I realized that there's a reason why those dojos are all broke, because it's just a bad business model. So I expanded to about 15,000 square feet. And we brought in fitness and yoga and Pilates and cardio kickboxing. We had just one big party now.
Nice.
The model to work. Now, preceding that, you say, well, Pat, you're in your 40s. What's this martial arts thing? I didn't step into martial arts till I was 40 years old. And I stepped into my first MMA cage fight when I was 42
Oh, wow.
years old.
Okay.
And I only bring that up, not as a bragging point at all, but to bring out an event that altered the trajectory that I was on in life. It was like a switch in the moment.
Okay.
As it plays into everything we're talking about here. I was sitting in a locker room. We had 8 guys fighting that night. The name of the gym was the Lion's Den. It was a Ken Shamrock backed or a brand name gym. And we had 8 guys fighting at this one event. And the second to our last partner was out fighting. So our entire team was out there, and I was the last fight of the night. And while I was sitting there in the locker room by myself, I'm just sitting there, my legs dangling over the edge. I'm kind of freaking out a little, right? And like this guy walks in, and didn't know him from Adam. Like, I never followed the UFC or fighting or anything like that. There's a whole nother story that even got me here, which we won't get into today.
Right.
But guy walks in, I don't recognize him. He goes, "Hey, Pat." I was surprised he knew my name. And hey, he goes, "If you don't mind, I'd like to share something with you. Probably not going to help right now, but you'll get it." And he put his hands on my legs, Rick, and leaned in. And I was sitting on a high, like a trainer's table, legs dangling off. And leaned in, looking me square in the eye. He goes, "You know what? This fight that you're worried about right now, that you're concerned about, the opponent, his training, his fitness, his age, is half my age. All your rugby fans that flew in to see you, the lights, the excitement, the energy, the UFC guys that are here tonight, all that stuff that you're fighting in your brain right now is the wrong fight. The fight you're fighting is right here between these ears in the locker. Okay. And if you win this fight here, you have a chance out there. But if you lose this fight, you've got no chance. You're done."
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
That parlays over to every aspect of life. If we win this fight, it doesn't guarantee an outcome, but it gives us a possibility. We don't win this fight, we're dead in the water, right?
Yep.
And that started to change. That started to answer some questions, about confidence and doubt and all these other things that people bring into the event. We think it's about giving them better training and giving them better tools and giving them better resources. But in fact, we got to get them through this fight first. If we don't, doesn't matter what we give them.
They're going to mental aspect. Anyway. I love it.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, man. I think that, we can unpack that for like hours. I think that because everybody, in the world of entrepreneurship or where we're at, and us going through the transition to get there, nobody really talks about the fact of the battles that go on inside their heads. People sell on it. People sell books on it and tell you go read this or go do this and that, but nobody really deep dives into what you're going to go through from A to Z, whatever niche you're doing, whether you're building a hot dog stand or a real estate investing business. So let's talk about that. Why is it from the fighters that you've worked with and the different investors and things like that? Why is it that when I can give you a blueprint of how to get from A to Z, I can give you a playbook, right? Why is it that some people take that playbook and implement and other people spend their time getting ready or just flat out don't do it. And these people will spend a substantial amount of their hard-earned money to learn these things, whatever the niche, and they just don't take action. Help me understand why that is.
Yeah. Well, first I'll tell you what it's not. And this is like well, you follow this stuff. This has been like the guru mantra for the last 5 years. Like this is the salvation to any problem in your life. It fixes everything. Just change your mindset. It's a
Yep.
mindset issue.
Yep.
And that's exactly what it's not. And let
Yep.
me explain. And I know that goes in conflict, Rick, to what a lot of people think and say, right? Your mindset, right, is, well, first off, it's a literal word. Your mind is set. You can't just change your mind. And I was speaking at a stage last week, and somebody in the audience challenged me on that, and I said, okay, let me do a little test with the audience. Raise your hand if you're in the audience and you have an absolute blood curling phobia of spiders. And a number of people raised their hand. Just happened,
Right.
didn't realize that was such a popular thing to have. Okay, so okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to picture me coming up behind you with a big bucket of spiders, tiny little ones, the kind that will crawl into your ear, and the big monstrous ones that are poisonous. And I'm going to dump this bucket over top your head. And I want you to change your mind about your relationship with spiders and be totally okay with it, like they're your
Yeah.
friend.
That's good.
And now they're literally freaking out in their seats, right? Imagining this event. Like, we can't change our mind. It's a lag indicator of our belief system.
Okay.
This is the answer to your question. When we want to see change, we've got to dive down to the operating system, which is our belief system. And if we have something we're resisting doing, right, that we know how to do, we deeply desire the results, we have the tools to get it done, we still don't do it.
Yep.
There's a conflict between that action and our belief. We refer to these as limiting beliefs. Now,
Okay.
every human has limiting beliefs. It's like a chain on a bicycle. There's always a weaker link than the rest.
Yep.
And once we solve that one, there's still the next weaker link. And that's how beliefs work, right? But what I
Okay.
share with people is if there's something you really want to be doing in your life, say again, let's go back to weight loss for a second. You want to be healthy, fit, strong body, you know how to do it, right? And you want the results more than you want anything in life, and you just can't discipline yourself. It's because there's a conflict between the action and your belief. You may have a belief that says, I'm not a healthy, fit person. I have this body handed down to me by my parents, and I just got what I got.
Yep.
And if that is your belief, you are correct. That you will never outperform that level. That
Yep.
is life. If you have a belief that no matter what they give me, I won't perform. It's not even the tool or the resources that I don't do what I say I'm going to do. If that's your belief, and that is a belief for a lot of people,
Yep.
then you are correct. You will never perform with those resources. So the simple conclusion to this is we've got to open ourselves up to the idea that we have limiting beliefs, and it's critical to our success to identify them and replace them.
So the fact that the people or whatever the niche is, they make the investment to learn, to grow, to get in shape, whatever that is. They in their heart really believe and they mean it that day. Like, I'm serious. I'm joining this gym. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then sometime between the start of it and the result they're looking for, they just can't get it together and just don't do it because of.
Yeah. So let me clarify one part. They don't believe in it.
Okay.
They have, look at left brain, right brain. Okay.
Yep.
Our left brain is our critical thinking brain. Our right brain is our emotional brain. They made
Right.
an emotional decision. They were motivated in the moment, Rick,
Got
right?
it. Yep.
Yeah. That,
Got
so
it.
they bought into it, but when the motivation wore off and they're back home by themselves and now they got to do the work.
Yep.
Now that critical brain is all by itself. They're like, damn it, I'm dead in the water. I got nothing. Yeah,
Wow.
that's a
Wow.
thing.
That's a real thing. Yeah, because now that helps really point out a lot of things that people deal. You see it every day. You
Mm-hmm.
see it every day with and people we call them excuses, right? Well, it's not really an excuse. It's something going on up here. It's not that they intentionally plan on not getting in shape, not building the business, not doing any of those things. It's just something they have to work out up here.
They never had a chance from the beginning. That fight was not won in the locker room first. Now, Say, well, all right, well, how do you deal with that? Now, so I'll tell you a commonality I see, especially in a lot of entrepreneurs or up and coming entrepreneurs,
Right.
that are notorious for getting all excited, pumped up, going all in, and then stopping. The
Yep.
brakes on, full out stop,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about
and
that.
dropping down into a rut, and
Yep.
then finally clawing our way back to ground level, and finally getting re-excited again and starting again,
Okay.
only to stop again. And when we repeat that cycle, what we're doing is we're training our subconscious to believe an inevitable outcome every single time is that this will not work. I will not succeed. I will fail. Not because of the product or the instructor or the coaching or the mastermind or the support, because
Right.
I don't perform.
Right. That makes all the sense in the world.
And you want to know a good indicator that we might be in that cycle if we find ourselves, Rick, constantly seeking motivation.
Yes.
Because now we've become, I call them motivation junkies, right? And I don't mean that judgmentally because I sat half my life in that seat, right?
Yeah.
So I don't mean any of this in a judgmental way. I'm just trying to explain how our psychology works a little here. But we become codependent on some external driver to get us to perform. Now, watch how this works out, right? Have you ever, and it's a rhetorical question, I know the answer, but it's worth asking aloud. Have you ever, and this is to the audience, woke up in the morning, as soon as you woke up, your eyes opened up, you were already pissed off at the world. You're
Yeah.
mad, you're angry, you're depressed, you're upset, and you don't even know why. You don't even have a good reason. You
Yes.
just woke up that way, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good. Now, would you agree that the way we feel affects the way we think?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
And the way we
Yep.
think is responsible for our decision making.
Yep.
Our decision making, therefore, our action taking, and our action taking produces our results. So
Yep.
now we have a direct relationship, an umbilical cord between the way we feel, which is not always in our control up front, and our results. And if we don't manage this relationship, this umbilical cord dependency, then we'll always be subject to the way we feel, which is inconsistent. We will not be able to pursue the results that we want. Is this making
Right.
sense? Or
Makes 100% sense.
track
Yeah.
with me on here? Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Because so one little thing, a trigger, can take you one direction or the other if you don't know how to control it.
Yeah, and this brings a little into the conversation of emotional intelligence and understanding or being aware of our emotions and managing our emotions. But for the simplicity of this conversation, I would suggest to people that we've got to intentionally sever ourselves from the need to be in a good mood to perform.
That
We
makes
don't,
so
as
much
human
sense.
mammals, we're the only mammal humans that have this superpower where we don't have to react to our emotions. We can respond to them. And generally speaking, if we react to them, there'll be a reflection of the emotion itself. If it's a positive emotion, we'll respond or react positively. If it's a negative emotion, we'll react negatively, right? But that's not how superstars rock. We've
Right.
got to be able to show up every day, game on, to win this game of entrepreneurialism, right? And this is so. I'll share something with people that is, I think, is kind of important. There's a false belief that when you get to a certain level, that this shit just levels out and boom, life is easy. It's just
Yeah.
gravy, man.
When's that get
It's
here?
just you're always gonna be, yeah, you're always gonna be motivated in the zone, top of your game, perfect, all that kind of stuff. And what would you say about that, Rick?
I'd say it's absolute bullshit.
Couldn't be further from the truth, right?
Yep.
Absolutely not. We just got to get better at managing this relationship between how we feel and our level of performance every single day. And I have this commitment. Everybody talks about morning routines. Part of my morning routine is to get at it as quick as I can, right?
Right.
But I will not get out of bed in the morning until I've won that fight in the locker room. I will
Okay.
not let myself get out of bed and start looking at text messages and emails and taking on all the crap from yesterday until I'm back on my horse, back on my A game.
How do you handle that? What would you say to someone that's listening to this saying, you know what? I wake up like that. I got contractors, I got coaches, I got whatever. How do you ground yourself in the morning before you start attacking your day?
Yeah, so I'll normally look at anything that will. So let's appreciate again a little bit of psychology that our mind can only handle one thought at any given time. And
Yep.
therefore, and so let's stay with me on this for a sec. Every thought is connected into an emotion in the subconscious. So every
Right.
time we think, we pull an emotion out of the subconscious into the conscious, and that's where we feel our emotions. And we
Got it.
say the word feel because it is literal, it's physical. That's the chemical response our body makes to whatever that emotion is, right?
Okay.
There's a chemical map to all emotions, and that's what we're actually feeling.
Right.
Somebody says they have butterflies in their stomach, that's all those chemicals uh, going nuts in their body right now. That's what
Got
creates
it.
a butterfly feeling, right? And that's
Okay.
a high level of not necessarily anxiety, but just being nervousness, right? There's a chemical stamp that goes
Stuff
along with
going
that,
crazy.
and that's
Yeah.
what we're feeling. Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So go back to we can only handle one thought, and if we wake up and we have these, so emotions contribute to thoughts, as we already agreed. Emotions affect the way we think, and thinking is tied to emotions. It can pull thoughts out. So let's say we wake up, we already have an emotion and a feeling that's not serving us. We have the superpower to stop, pause, think about what we think about. Instead of just reacting, we can respond. And a great response is to put a positive thought in our brain that is conducive to pulling up an emotion that's going to change the way we feel. And
Boom.
one of
Yeah.
those is anything we could be grateful for. When we
Okay.
could be like genuinely grateful. And so I can't just hit a grateful switch sometimes. I'll be honest, I'm being too much of a little bitch in the moment, like with
Yep.
myself. And I
Yep.
got to really work my way through it and build myself up and find something that I'm genuinely grateful. Once, man, I can pull over into that space, you will start feeling different in the moment. Then run with the next thing that you can be grateful for, or that makes you happy or excited. Doesn't matter, right? Grateful
I
is just
think that's so powerful, man. The fact that you just touched on gratitude, I hear a lot of people, myself included. There was a book I read a couple years ago. Now I read it once a year. It's called The Gap and the Gain, and
mm,
that talked all about that, the power of being grateful, right? And the power of being stuck in the gap, looking for the downside of everything rather than focusing on the gain. And it talked a lot about measuring back. So a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we started somewhere, right?
mm-hmm,
And when we hit a rough spot, or we hit a part that there's challenges and this just sucks right now, rather than saying, okay, I want to quit, go back 6, 12, 18, 2 months, however long, and say, man, look where I started and look where I'm at now.
mm-hmm.
I think that's such a powerful thing. What you just said is being able to control, in our world of real estate investing, it might say, okay, this contractor isn't doing what he's supposed to do, whatever the case may be. But you say, you know what, the last job he rocked it out, and you can change that so quickly. I think that's powerful, Pat.
Yeah. It's not always easy to be grateful when you're already kind of in a crabby mood. So
Right,
I'm just being honest, it takes a practice.
right.
And just because you're at a super high level thinking gratefulness, it doesn't mean it taps into that emotional response because you're really not believing what you're thinking right now.
Okay,
It's almost like just saying it. It's like, it's looking at a picture board with all the things you want in life, and they're just not tapping into emotion.
right,
Emotion is where we get like our energy, our fire, our fight from, our passion is all packed in the energy of emotion. Until we tap into that, it doesn't have any effect on us.
right.
So that's a piece of it. It takes a little practice.
Is there strategies that people can achieve this?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm talking to someone that's just wakes up grumpy, right? Somebody on our team, someone whoever that's listening to this, they just tend to wake up and they're in a shitty mood before they go to work every day. What can you say to that person?
Yeah. So the practice would go like this: in a non-elevated emotional state, what I call a sane environment. So
Okay.
forget about today. He's grumpy, right? But he doesn't have the tools. He's struggling with finding gratefulness in the moment. Okay. Well,
Yep.
let's train ourselves up a little. Every day, at least one time a day, find 5 minutes where you cut yourself off from all external stimulus and be bored.
Okay.
Say, well, why be bored? Well, because we really struggle with boredom these days. Like,
Right.
man, you go to the men urinal in an airport, and there's not a single guy taking a pee who doesn't have a phone in his hand. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
right.
And I'm not just saying men and women are all the same way, right? We can't even go to the bathroom without scrolling the internet. It's
100%. Yeah.
insane. And the second we're sitting idle, right, we get uncomfortable and we have to because we've become so dependent on external stimulus. But here's the problem. If we're being externally stimulated, it cuts off our willingness and ability to internally stimulate, which is creativity. We
Okay.
shut down our creativity. We stop creating. We just become a reflection, a reactionary reflection of everything that's coming at us.
Got
So
it.
specific to your answers, if we can't create, yeah, you're going to have a hard time changing your mental state
Right.
because you have to create the environment for gratefulness to exist. And the trick, in summary, is to practice being bored. So don't, at least 5 minutes a day. Do it multiple times if you have time for it. Right. Don't try to think about anything. Just be with yourself. And then
Okay.
whatever starts flowing, and it'll, more and more you do it, the more the creativity will be turned on like a light switch. Just give it its space to flow, if that makes
Be
any
bored.
sense.
That's gold, man. I've never heard of that before. Be bored. Turn it off.
Be bored,
Turn
man.
off your notifications for 5 minutes at least.
If you're
Well,
feeding it from the outside, you're shutting off the creativity from the inside.
that's good stuff, man. You've mentioned numerous times here that you've talked about environments. What do we say to the people? We have a lot of people, myself included, where we have people in our lives, or we know people that come into our circle where they have the mindset, they have the want, they have the need, they have the inspiration, they have the trigger, whatever the why is, we call it, right? But their environment, they're around what we would call negative people. They're around the pessimists. They're around people that don't believe. How important is someone's environment to what they're trying to achieve? Just the people they're around.
Yeah, so it's a phenomenal question. And so if we're going to talk environments, let's appreciate the multiple environments that are they're relative to the question. People environments, probably the most influential, physical environments, mental environments, emotional environments. You know, mental and emotional. If you're sitting all day reading politics on your special, CNN or Fox channel, they're wiring you to be
Yes.
pissed off. That's
Yes.
exactly what they're doing. And now in that
Yep.
frame, you're pretty much worthless in business.
Yep.
You're worthless to your family. you know so let's appreciate all these environments exist, and they are conducive to our success or failure. They don't dictate it, but they are conducive to it. And what I generally say to people is that look at the things that you're trying to do in your life, particularly the things that you're trying to change or transform,
Right.
right? And start cheating. Start creating environments that are conducive to your success. And I'll get onto the people in a second here. An example of this, let's say, Rick, someone has a bad habit. They're trying to lose a little weight, but they have a bad habit. When they go to bed at night, they have to walk through the kitchen and they can't help but putting their hand in the cookie jar. They
Oh
have to
yeah.
go to bed with something in their hand, right? Okay, make the hard things easy and the easy things hard. So
Okay.
the hard things easy, the things that you want to do, make them as easy as possible, and the things that you do easily that you want to remove from your life, make them hard. So remove all that junk food from your house, so that if you really want that junk food at 9 o'clock at night, you got to get in your car and drive out to the convenience store to get it. Make
Yep.
those easy things that you want to make go hard to do, and make the hard things to do very easy. Pre-prepare your meals and lay them out. So all you have to do when it's time to eat and eat right is stick your hand in the fridge and pull out that meal, one labeled, 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. Make it
Yep.
as easy as possible to stick to that diet that you want, that will give you the health levels that you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's just an
100%.
example of like physical environments, mental and emotional, or throttling what affects you. So again, this brings back a little EQ, emotional intelligence, right?
Yep.
Being aware of our triggers and then managing our triggers and eventually remapping them. Management is that we get triggered, and don't look at triggered as a bad word here. It's got a bad rap, but trigger is just it's a way the mind makes a very short map based on limited information and gets to the conclusion really quick. So it's just a
Okay.
shortcut our mind makes, right? So we get triggered, and it's a negative emotional response to the trigger. So that doesn't serve us. Management is stop, pause, think about what we're thinking about, and respond. Don't react. That's management.
Okay.
Remapping is change the meaning around the trigger. So it doesn't mean something negative to you anymore. It means something positive. An example would be like, and this was me, and I'll just be honest and transparent. I used to get triggered on the road, right? And especially with I'm in a long line of traffic getting off an exit, and then some freaking young kid comes and cuts me off last
Yeah.
minute. Didn't wait in the line, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get triggered. You do stupid things, you respond, your fingers go flailing, all that kind of stuff, right? All right. So let's walk through this, right? The old Pat would the trigger would show up. I would get triggered, emotional, and it really fundamentally is a man. That's a show of disrespect. We don't like being disrespected,
Right.
so we explode, and somehow we should get back at him somehow, right? We do
Yeah.
stupid things, right? That's one round. Management is Pat, stop, pause, breathe this one out, think about what you're thinking about, and put a new thought in place that serves you better. That would look something like, all right, that kid didn't do it on purpose. As a matter of fact, he just got a call from his wife. Their 2-year-old daughter fell off the kitchen table, cut her head open. Her wife's hysterical and panicking. And he, just being the dad that he's supposed to
Yeah.
be, is getting home to serve his family as fast as he possibly can. And when you change the meaning around it, everything changes. Now I'm like, wow, now I'll make room for him. High five, good job,
Yeah.
right? Congratulations. And then I'll celebrate how lucky I am, because even though he cut me off, he didn't hit me. I'm not like down in the ravine upside down. I'm like the luckiest guy in the world. So
Right.
I turn on my music, I roll down the window, and I go home, and all that energy flows into my household, and the night is awesome.
Yep.
All because we manage that relationship between the trigger and reacting or responding. And then the remapping is just permanently changing the meaning around it, constantly reminding yourself in advance that that never meant disrespect. It just meant this guy's got a job to do as a dad, and he's being the man he's supposed to be.
Yep. Yep.
Every
It
single
wasn't,
time.
it
And
wasn't
somebody may
personal.
say, Rick, but which one is true? And the truth is, doesn't matter, nor
Yeah.
do we know. So we pick the truth that serves our cause.
Yep.
That's the part that people have to get over. Yeah, but what if, don't stop. It's not about them. It's about you.
Yep.
You figure this out so that you're the best version of you walking around, right?
That's the key.
Yeah.
Yep.
So does that all make kind of make sense?
That makes 100% sense. We work on that a lot with our team, as perspective when things go sideways, right? Try to put yourself in their shoes, and don't be the arrogance. I think I took this from I don't remember who I took it from in the FB day. Maybe it's Andy Tanner or something. When I used to be really nervous about getting up there and speaking, and it was, I remember the how that all went away was, he says, it's not about you. Quit being so arrogant, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute. He's like, it's not about you. It's about them. And that little mindset shift
Brilliant.
was, I was like, wow. I was like, that was a game changer. So when you deal with conflicts, or you deal with triggers, or deal with things that are happening, you're right. Put yourself in their shoes of whatever they might be going through, and focus on what you can control and not what they're going through. I think that's genius, man, because not a lot of people look for the excuse to cause their own mental anguish, right? I keep using real estate examples is because that's what we do. But rather than, if a contractor does something wrong, focusing on just beating a dead horse rather than saying, okay, this sucks. How can we make sure this doesn't happen again? Correct it, and then move on to bigger and better things, right?
Yeah.
I think that's awesome, Pat.
Yeah. So I have in our programs, I have two partners that are former Navy SEALs, and we talk about this stuff all the time. And it from their perspective, if you can't manage that relationship between triggers and emotions, and then reacting and responding, then you're unqualified, you're unfit to lead, because
Right,
you'll be unpredictable, you'll be unreliable.
right,
Even if it's just in the sense that you have an emotion creep in and it slows down your decision making, right? Because it challenges your confidence in the moment. Even at that level, you're no longer qualified to lead, because leaders need to be, very, very, very decisive in decision making, and it's got to be done promptly, even the big decisions. We
right,
talk about that kind of stuff at a very high level, and it carries all the way over them. And that's probably one of the foundational pieces to their success, thriving in chaos. Their worlds are very different than ours in that they go into very scary situations where the knowns aren't always known, and oftentimes what they're told to be is rarely the way it shows up, right? And they
okay,
still have to win.
yeah, okay,
There's no other, they can only win, and their expertise is in thriving in that level of chaos. Now picture if we brought that stuff back home in our environments, Rick, right?
right, right.
How powerful that is on a daily basis. you
So
know.
you help people along with this. Let's talk about that. You have your two partners in your programs. Let's talk about your programs. How do you help people manage and deal with all this stuff? What does that look like?
Yeah, so a couple different levels. So we do a virtual group, and that's delivered this way. We do virtual stuff, we do one-on-one stuff, and then we
Okay.
do a live in-person event as well. And
Nice.
the live in-person one is the coolest
Yeah.
because we get to put men through. So yeah, they're with Navy SEALs, but this isn't like a rah rah. You're a bigger alpha than me, and I'm going to scream and yell at you kind of thing. Not at
Right.
all. And it's not a
Okay.
physical challenge either. Although
Okay.
we're in the mountains of Colorado, we're off grid, so it's got a little physically, it's a little physically challenging, but it's not a physical challenge, not like that at all. We're tapping into the mental and emotional expertise of their backgrounds, right? And
Okay.
we create experiences that put us in elevated emotional environments where we
Okay.
still have to operate individually and as a team very critically, meaning we still got to make proper decision making, critically thought through decisions, um, in extremely elevated mental and emotional environments.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, like a pressure cooker, and we still got to thrive.
Nice.
Um,
Okay.
if that makes any sense. So it's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really, so we put ourselves through live training to build this up, and it's at a far higher level than you and I would ever experience in our entrepreneurial world. So
Right.
now when we come back and we're confronted with challenges, and you know as well as I do, challenges show up every day. We're
Yeah.
far better equipped to be able to handle them.
That's awesome, man. So your coaching and your programs help people deal, whether is it just entrepreneurs? Is it what's your target? What's your ideal client? Like, who do you like to work with?
Yeah, so it's not just entrepreneurs, although that is our like our kind of our avatar, but we get
Right.
a lot of kind of C-level corporate guys who are moving out of the corporate world,
Okay.
want to stretch their wings a little and kind of come in. We get a lot of retired veterans, believe it or not.
Really? Okay.
We're looking to kind of relaunch themselves into a new career, and of course, entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And this isn't just about business. It's being a better spouse, being a better dad. It's being a better human being, which is probably the nucleus of what we do. You know.
I think it's very powerful. This whole thing back all the way when we first started this, how you said you're never going to go, no matter what your niche, you're never going to outgrow financially, spiritually, your relationships, all that stuff, the level to which you grow yourself. I think that is so powerful because people always chase the dollar. They chase the look at me, I made all this money and yada yada yada. Whether it's real or not, I don't know. But you can always look and see what kind of human being is that person, and that will usually match what's really going on behind the scenes. I think that's the most powerful thing that somebody can hear.
Yeah, I'll give you a little barometer, and it's something I am uber aware of every single day, and I'm not perfect at it, but I work at it every day, and I think it's kind of revealing. And it goes like this: the barometer is matching up your what I call your private life and your public life,
Yeah.
which means your private life is the time you spend with yourself that no one knows about, the way you think, the way you feel, your thoughts, your actions when no one's paying attention, all of that stuff, where there's zero consequence from the universe. No one knows, no one's going to
Yep.
judge you.
Just you.
Right? Then there's our public life where everybody sees everything.
Yep.
And I'll go first. When I started looking at the two, they were not in direct alignment, Rick.
Yep. 100%. I
And
agree.
that lack of authenticity will hold
Yep.
you back as a human being. When you level up your private life to equal your professional life, or public life, they will both go through the roof. But
Yep.
when there's a big gap here, this will hold this back in ways you never knew were even possible.
Why do you think the mental game of why people do that? I've learned that a lot, coming from just being an operator as a real estate investor to more of the helping people learn how to do what we've done, right? Why do people fake it? Forget it. I mean, why do people fake it? Why do people portray themselves for the social media and they go to all the events and look at me, look at me, look at me? But then you learn, whether you want to or not, that what they're portraying themselves really isn't a reality. Why do people do that?
Good question. In the simplest terms, it's because they're setting their goals, their values, their operating code based on what they think those people think it should be,
Okay.
not on what they think it should be.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Therefore, when they're out here, they have to perform according to the standards they think they are looking for.
Got it.
When in
Okay.
fact, this is what we should be paying attention to. And these are the values and ethics and code of honor that we should be leveling up.
That makes a lot of
If
sense.
we trick ourselves into believing if nobody knows, it doesn't matter, all that matters is out here. And that's why this becomes such an anchor. When in fact, it's vice versa. It's the opposite way around. The only thing that matters is how we perform here. Well, this matters too, of course. But if you don't level you up and raise your standards in your private life, you cannot elevate your public life. Impossible. You can pretend and fake it, but it can't go anywhere. It's not a truth.
So it's just a false sense of reality, really. It's like it's a fake social media post.
Yeah, and again, I don't like. I'm not saying any of this in a very in a judgmental way at all.
Right. It's just today's world.
We fall prey to just doing it. We don't even know we're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anybody listening now you know.
Yeah,
I'm stripping your excuse.
it's today's world, and I struggle with that. I think you and I'm 47. Pat, how old are you?
57. I got 10 years on you.
Oh man, okay, golly. Well, you look great. Well, I noticed this. I catch myself.
We got the same haircut. That's why.
That's why I wanted to do this, so people think we're brothers. So I struggle with this myself. I have a son. He'll be 30 this year, and I don't know when it happened. But I started coming. I got to the point where I say back in my day, and I'm like, well, shit. When did that start? When did I say back when? I keep myself saying back when, right? Back when we didn't have, when I started in real estate, we didn't have social media. We didn't have, and I catch myself saying back then. But I notice now, man, at the gyms or whatever, how many people just walk around and are just like this, right? They can't get away. They can't literally put that thing down from walking through the gym, using the bathroom, like it's a control thing. And then it got to the point where I see people, the mental chasing the edification of like setting up tripods in the gym and doing their bench on the gym. And hold on a second, I got to stop. And it's like, wow, it's like how many times people are really searching that compared to the other people that use it as a legitimate marketing strategy to build their business. Right. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was such a difference. And I've always tried to figure out, that led into understanding what dopamine was and all that stuff. That's another topic, but just trying to figure out on why the mental, getting stroked mentally on one side of your brain when the other side won't do the actual work. And that's why I'm tying all this in, because we've got people that come to our events, they come to the meetups, they do this, that. They'll say, look at me, I'm walking a house. And on the back end, I know good and darn well they're not doing any deals, and I'm the one coaching them, right? But they're pretending, and I'm just like, I never understood like why that was. So thank you for clearing that up, because it didn't really make sense to me. Because when we started in the real estate world, the last thing we had ever thought about was going out and taking a picture of me in a house that I had never done.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Right. It didn't make sense, and it's the power of what you know on how to control and develop what's in between your ears, man. I think that's absolutely amazing skill. How'd you learn all this?
Just over time and people.
Trial and error.
and so I take that back. I probably got 1,500 hours in study and psychology and different aspects of psychology and cognitive behavioral therapy and things like that. So I love the topic. I love understanding human behavior.
I love it, man.
Understanding, what drives us and makes us do what we want to do. Let me share one little last piece, which is right in alignment with what 100%. You're talking about. So let me speak to people that would be in your program that want to be a successful real estate investor. Right?
Please do, yeah, absolutely,
and have not found that yet, right? If the question was, well, why aren't they being successful? Why do they stop when that guy is still going forward, right?
Yeah.
One thing we've got to be aware of is how we pick and choose the goals that we set for ourselves.
Okay.
And when we set goals, Rick, that are based on what we think they should be, we're screwed. Okay.
Right.
We got no chance. And let's bring in the word meaning. When we set goals based on what we think they should be, they don't mean anything to us. But we think we're doing the right thing because it's what everybody else is doing, right?
Right.
And until something means enough to us, we won't do the hard work. And if you guys are listening, man, you didn't write anything down yet, write this down. Until something means enough to you, you won't do the hard work. And I'll give you an example. How old you're not how old? What's your boy's name?
My son's name's Keith.
Let's go back to when. Well, yeah, I'll paint the story first. You and I
Yep.
are walking down the road. We'll go back a few years here, right? And we're just having a conversation. Maybe we're checking out real estate, and we see up on our left there's fire trucks and cars and police and all that kind of stuff, and house up in flames, right? And I'm like, "Hey, Rick," as we walk by, and the thing's just, they're shooting water and all that kind of stuff. Like, "Hey, Rick, give $1,000 if you run into that house, fill this glass with water, and run back out." And you're like, "Well, Pat, I'm up for a challenge, but that's just stupid.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
would be stupid."
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right, how about $10,000?" And you're like, it's still equally stupid. I'm like, "What about $1,000,000? Where's your threshold?" And you're like, "Pat, I got a kid, man. I wouldn't do anything that would risk my life. Like, it's just not worth the money." And you'd be
Right.
100% right, right? You couldn't be more correct. So
Yeah.
let's now do the same scenario, we're walking the same street, same police, same fire truck, same everything, right? We pull up and we hear something, and it's actually your boy's name was Keith.
Yep.
He's 7 years old at the time. He's in the house screaming for you, crying, scared to death. And the only way he's going to get out of that house is if you run in there and save him.
Yep.
Would you go in then?
No question.
Is there
Absolutely.
anything that would stop you from going in?
No, can't say there would be. No.
Of course not. You wouldn't even think twice
No.
about it.
No.
Now, the important part of this little conversation is this: same circumstance, same burning house. On one hand, there's nothing I could do to get you to go in the house.
Right.
On the other, there's nothing I could do to stop you from going in the house.
Right.
The only thing that changed, Rick, was the meaning around the exercise.
Yep.
That's how powerful meaning is in execution, particularly when it comes to doing hard things. If something doesn't mean enough to us, we won't do it. So now we go back to goals. Rarely are you going to be able to figure out a way to make someone else's goal mean enough to you. We have to start doing shit for us that
Yep.
matters to us, that means something to us. And we have to start asking ourselves, what is the result of the result? Okay, the result is I do all these houses and I make all this money, but what's the result of that? And how does that make you feel? Now we're back to feeling, emotion, energy, passion, fight. And
Yep.
that's the stuff we need to get through the hard times. And void of that, we have no chance here.
How does that make you feel? Yep. Yep. How did that make you feel? That's powerful, Pat.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. So for
That's
people
kind of the
that
magic sauce in there,
that's the how did that make you feel? Yeah, that ties it all the way back. That brings back some memories too, buddy. They how can people find you? I'm definitely interested in furthering this conversation, and I know that there's going to be a ton of people that are going to be interested in having a conversation with you. How can people find Pat?
Yeah, so I'm really easy to locate. If you on any of the social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, I'm just Patrick Precourt. I think all my handles are Patrick Precourt. The only other Patrick Precourt is my son, and you'll be able to tell the difference, I suppose, right? Uh, yeah. So
Hope so.
yeah, just DM me. I'm really easy to hook up with and connect with, And if somebody's like interested in any of the work we do, what I usually say, Rick, is hit me up. We'll schedule a call. We'll just have a conversation because
Right.
everything I do always starts with the end. What do you want?
What do you want? Yep, that's
And if I was
powerful.
to suggest any preparation for a conversation with me is know that answer. What do you want?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how many people can't answer that question. It's really easy to shoot something out, but what is it you really, really want? And
Right.
we'll see how we might be able to get that for you.
Beautiful. I thank you very much for taking the time, Pat. You brought a ton of value. I got a lot to digest here, and I will definitely be talking to you soon. And I highly recommend, guys, if you are in any shape or form, business owner, entrepreneur, just trying to figure things out that would like a little bit of guidance on helping you keep your mental health and your mental say traction going the right direction, I highly recommend talking to Pat. I mean, he's very humble and doesn't really expand too much on what they created, but some of the people and the amount of people they've helped over the years has been absolutely life changing. So I highly recommend having a conversation with him. Pat, thank you very much for taking the time. And I look forward to talking to you again, brother.
Yeah, honored to be here with you, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good one, my man.